thoughtful and responsible. There was a time when these hospitals were lifelines, places where thousands came seeking hope. Today, they stand abandoned. What happened? Across America, hundreds of these massive institutions rose in the 19th and early 20th centuries, built as humane alternatives to jails and poorhouses, places of reform and healing. Some closed because of medical progress, new drugs that allowed treatment outside walls. Others fell to chronic neglect, overcrowding, and tragedy. Together, they tell a larger story of good intentions, broken systems, and a nation rethinking how we care for the most vulnerable. Central State Hospital, Milledgeville, Georgia. Founded in 1842 as the Georgia State Lunatic, Idiot, and Epileptic Asylum, it was born from a wave of reform, a humane alternative to chains. It grew into the world's largest mental institution, peaking at nearly 13,000 patients in the 1960s across 2,000 acres. Families sent loved ones here, sometimes for mental illness, sometimes for epilepsy, alcoholism, or simply being unwanted. One woman, Betty Stubbs, was committed around 1900 after stillbirths. She spent over 30 years inside. Locals warned kids, they'll send you to Milledgeville. Its slow decline from the 1960s onward showed the old asylum model breaking under its own weight, too big, too costly, replaced by community programs and new medications. Forest Haven Developmental Center, Laurel, Maryland, opened in 1925 as the district training school for the mentally retarded. It was meant to teach life skills on a rural farm campus. It held up to 1,300 residents from Washington, D.C. What began as progressive turned horrific. Underfunding led to restraint, heavy medication, and neglect. Residents died from preventable causes like aspiration pneumonia. Joy Evans, committed at age 8, died at 17 in 1976. Her name became the landmark lawsuit that exposed it all. A federal judge ruled conditions violated constitutional rights, forcing closure in 1991. It proved institutions could become deadly when oversight failed. Pilgrim Psychiatric Center, Brentwood, New York. Built in 1931 as a massive farm colony to ease overcrowding, Pilgrim peaked at nearly 14,000 patients in 1954, possibly the largest psychiatric hospital ever, a self-contained city with its own power plant and cemetery. Thousands lived decades here, many receiving lobotomies or electroshock. One elderly woman, lobotomized in the 1950s for schizophrenia, spent her life tending flowers on the grounds, forever changed. For many patients, this was the only place they had. Different states, different decades, the same outcome. Policy shifts to community care and antipsychotics hollowed it out, leaving vast abandoned zones even as a smaller facility continues today. Danvers State Hospital, Danvers, Massachusetts. Opened in 1878 as a model Kirkbride Asylum on Hawthorne Hill, designed for 500 but holding over 2,000 by mid-century amid severe overcrowding. Early promise faded into reports of filth, naked patients, and heavy restraints. It became infamous for lobotomies and neglect, a place where hope turned to despair. Budget cuts and the push for community mental health in the 1960s to 80s accelerated its decline. Fully closed in 1992, most demolished by 2007, a stark symbol of how quickly ideals erode under funding shortages and stigma. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, Weston, West Virginia. Construction began in the 1850s, opened 1864, designed for 250 but peaking at over 2,400 in the 1950s, nearly 10 times capacity. Patients faced cages for the uncontrollable, chronic underfunding, and inhumane conditions. Many spent lifetimes inside, forgotten by society. When this hospital closed in 1994, an entire chapter ended. Deinstitutionalization, new drugs, and court orders finally ended the giant asylum era, but not without leaving scars. Different states, different decades, the same outcome. These weren't just building failures, they reflected a national shift from isolated mega institutions to community care, driven by antipsychotic medications in the 1950s, civil rights scrutiny,
exposés of abuse, and policies like the 1963 Community Mental Health Act. States wanted to save money, society wanted dignity. But too often, funding for community support never fully arrived, leaving gaps that still echo today. These walls once heard prayers, fear, relief, and gratitude. They remind us progress can leave behind those it meant to help. If you value quiet, honest history like this, stories that make us think about how far we've come and how far we still have to go, consider subscribing. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching.